Okay, here we are again. Here's Bloodborne weapons tier list. Um, Looks like these might be in alphabetical order. I don't like that, so we'll do them in my own order. Let me see. Where's the weapon that I want to start with? Start with saw cleaver. Um, How do I want to go about this? Um, I guess I'll just do it on its own. Saw cleaver is the most like A tier weapon there is. A lot of weapons on this tier list are going to skew towards like maybe S through B tier, because most weapons in this game are pretty decent. The saw cleaver is like it's all you need and like nothing more other than the serrated damage, which is really good. Um, it's the only weapon that you start with that has a serrated damage bonus that actually matters. Like you get the serrated damage bonus on the threaded cane too, but only in its transformed form, and that's not all that helpful because you mainly want serrated damage for the bosses that are weak to it, and you don't want to be using your slow ass uh, whip form on it for the bosses. Typically, I mean you can sort of make it work, but having serrated on the fast R1 is really good. Um, you know, it's a decent strength weapon. Doesn't really scale well with anything, um, but it's more. I think it if you fully upgrade it, it's like a C in strength and a D in fucking skill or something like that. Really not that good. Um, Maybe at like plus 10, it's a B in strength. Ooh, not that great. Um, the thing about it is it would be a lot higher up, but the Saw Spear just outclasses it, and I'm gonna put that in S. Now, not necessarily because the Saw Spear itself is that much better. It's just that it's better for what you need it for, at least in my opinion. Um, the thing about all these early game weapons is, of course, you get them at the beginning of the game, so if you're using any of the later game weapons, you'll need something to carry you for a while. And for me, it's always the Saw Spear every time. Um, we'll get into why it's not the Saw Cleaver in a bit, but the thing about the Saw Spear, also serrated damage in the R1 form. Um, its transformed form is just all around better. It's better for crowd control and it's better for killing one-on-one enemies. Its transformed form also gets serrated, which kind of matters because it's mostly good for the big werewolf type beasts. A lot of times you'll want to use your R2s on that with the transformed form. Um, it's a little bit more pointed towards skill with the scaling than the saw cleaver, but I don't think it really even matters that much. It is nice that it's a skill weapon because basically everything but strength kind of gets shafted in terms of weapon choice. It's nice to have a good skill weapon early on. Um, um, uh, the main thing. So one of the other few differences between Saw Cleaver and Saw Spear, even though the untransformed form are basically the same on both of them in terms of moveset, the Saw Spear is a little bit weaker, but it also has a little bit more range. And that range honestly does make a noticeable difference. And so, for that range alone, and for the transformed version being just a bit better, I always go with Saw Spear. And you'll basically always just take Saw Spear once you get it for free down in the sewers. Um, I don't I don't understand the thought process behind putting two weapons that are so similar in the game, especially so well. I was gonna say especially so close together, but it'd be even weirder if it came late game. But I approve of it. It's fine. There are meaningful differences between the two. Um, but what I usually do, you pick the hunter axe, which we'll get to in a minute, until you can get the saw spear, and then you basically just take the saw spear through all the bosses until you can kill Amelia, or if you're getting one of the weapons before Amelia. There aren't a whole ton of them, but there are a couple. And then you go into the DLC, and that's where you're typically picking a weapon from, because there's a lot of weapons early on in the DLC. Um, if not, you might choose something else to carry you, because the serrated beasts that you're wanting to kill are mostly, like, they're basically just up to Amelia. There's a good chunk of them. Um, there's not that many past Amelia. There are some, but not that many. Um, so it's just super good for carrying you up until you get the weapon you want, and even if you want to stick with it, I mean, it's still really good. It's probably more of an A tier. It might still go an S, even just considering using it on its own, but definitely one of the better weapons in the game. Now, the reason you pick the Hunter Axe, I think we'll also put S tier, is the Hunter Axe's thing. It's a big thing. Its R1s aren't very fast. It doesn't really have a great way to just spam quick attacks. But its transformed version is like awesome. It's so good for crowd control. The like quicker R1 in the transformed version is honestly pretty good if you're taking out even just like single enemies, because that range in the initial sweep of the R1 combo is pretty useful for stun locking a lot of stuff to hit with your follow up attacks. It's just very safe. Of course, your regular R2 is pretty decent. It's a long overhead attack. I mean, it's just strong, good. It's not super. I don't use it super often, but it's nice when you need it. It also has the like the fairly unique capability to hit overhead, which almost never matters. But when you're fighting the amygdala, it's really useful to be able to just hit right over your head. I mean, that makes that fight so much easier. Um, it is a fucking blunt weapon, which sucks. So the general like way things play out is uh, your big beasts that you're most fighting in early game are weak to serrated, um, but then it was serrated and fire. But then later game, later in the game, you're fighting all these squishy aliens. So of course you want to use thrusting attacks, and they're typically weaker to thunder. Um, and basically everything falls into these two groups. The thing of it is, the thing that'll fuck you completely is, so the aliens are obviously squishy, so they're resistant to blunt attacks. Um, but they're also pretty resistant to arcane typically, which makes sense for the aliens. But then you go and you look at the beasts, the like beast boss weaknesses and like resistances, and they all also just fucking resist blunt and arcane. So blunt and arcane are fucking terrible for the most part. Basically everything you just want thrust. Like you either want neutral or thrust. Thrust is almost never bad. I can't off the top of my head think of an enemy where thrust is bad. But you definitely want thrust for those fucking for the brain suckers and a lot of the like later game, like I say, the alien type guys that you just want to poke. Super good for the brain suckers. And for what's her fucking face? The hardest, most bullshit boss in the game that you find in Upper Cathedral Ward. What's her name? You know her. She sucks. If you're using a blunt weapon, go fuck yourself. If you're using arcane, go fuck yourself. That boss is terrible. Um, but anyway, so for that reason, anything that's blunt is kind of disadvantaged. You really don't get anything out of a blunt weapon that you don't get out of a non-blunt weapon. I guess they typically have higher potential like rally, like you get more out of each hit of your health back, but that's not that big of an advantage. Um, but it is nice on the. It is a plus of the Hunter Axe too. The main thing you do with the Hunter Axe, you pick it at the start. I didn't even talk about the Hunter Axe's R2. The R2 and the L2. The L2 is like just a slower, more powerful R1, which sometimes you need. And then the R2, of course, you do your spin. And if you can charge up the spin, it's awesome. I mean, it'll take care of anything, any group of enemies. Um, so the big thing about the Hunter Axe is crowd control. And so what I do is every time I play the game, you start with the Hunter Axe for the crowd control throughout the entire early Yarnum section, and then you switch over to the Saw Spear because that's when you start needing to be needing to worry about the bosses. Like, the first two bosses aren't too big a deal with the Hunter Axe. It is a plus to have that saw spear, but it's not too big a deal. But Bloodstar Beast, even now, sometimes gives me trouble. He's a fairly difficult boss, even when you know what you're doing. If you don't have enough power, but you just always pick it for the start. And even if you like I say, even if you go through the rest of the game with it, it's still really good. Like, it's still S tier. Probably one of the best weapons in the game. And the threaded cane. Now, I used to be a big threaded cane hater. I still wouldn't put it in like S tier or anything, but I kind of moved up to like A tier on it. I used to think it was like a C tier thing. The main thing about it, compared to the other starting weapons, um, it's the only like real skill weapon. So if you're doing a skill build, I guess start with that. A lot of times, honestly, if you're doing a skill build, it's not gonna matter for a while what build you're doing. So you might just do Hunter Axe anyways, because it gets a little bit from skill, or just Saw Spear. Um, I keep having to pause to blow my nose because I'm kind of sick. I don't want to pick up on the mic, but if you're wondering what those pauses are, in fact, um, so the big thing about it is transformed form is decent for crowd control. It's serrated, like I've been saying. That's decent for crowd control. R2 has a decent bit of a stun on bigger enemies. It's got some good range. It's pretty fast, and that's what's kind of nice. Is the whole thing's like one of the faster weapons in the game. Even compared to it's probably one of the fastest weapons in the game. When I think about it, um, and it's nice to have that fast crowd control. It's not the greatest crowd control, but it does enough. And then it's a regular form. Uh, I mean, the R1s are decent. They have a decent bit of range, okay-ish damage, but that's not what you're really there for with it. You're there for the R2s on transformed because the thrust attacks, and that's real good. And also the charged R2 on it is really fast, which is really nice because if you're trying to get backstabs, this is like one of the most consistent weapons to be able to do it because its charged R2 is so fast and it still does decent damage. So you're getting that good damage and the backstab rather than just the like if you parry, you're just getting the backstab damage. So it's pretty good, honestly. And I was kind of a hater for the longest time until I decided to go through a whole run with it. Um, I think the big problem is in the early Yarnum section. I remember the thing that made me feel like it was so weak is you go up to the shield guys and you hit him with your like R2 in the transformed form, and it just bounces straight off the shield. Like you don't. It's not even like he doesn't break his guard. It's one of the very few things in the game that will straight bounce off his shield and interrupt your attack. It makes it like it's stacked against the fucking threaded cane. You're not gonna think the threaded cane's good if you see that early on. But it's honestly like it's one of the better weapons in the game. And the thing about it that I really like, a lot of the weapons in this game, like I was kind of hinting out with the Hunter Axe, a lot of them you don't really give a shit about one of the forms. You're either doing the transformed form or untransformed. Um, Typically, not much reason to switch to the other one. Um, but the threaded cane has a really nice balance. It has a really nice balance. You switch forms often and for a lot of different situations. It's one of the more fun weapons to use, but it's not like in terms of power, it's not insane. It's pretty well balanced. Um, Honestly, I probably like it more than the Saw Cleaver if I could move that. But that's enough about that. So for the rest of these weapons, these aren't the starting weapons, and so unless they're really early on, it's kind of a knock against them because you have to go through so much of the game with something else. Um, the big cutoff will be like if you can't get them in the first area of the DLC by just running through it and grabbing everything, you're typically gonna face a bigger penalty. Um, but I'll try to judge them on their merits. I've used almost every weapon in this game. There's a couple I still haven't used, but I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually. Amygdalin Arm. Well, maybe I should just go in order. What would be the next one you get? I mean, it doesn't need to be a strict order. Kirkhammer. Kirkhammer's decent. The thing about the Kirkhammer, I think it will actually keep him B tier, maybe C tier for now. Maybe I'll move it up later. But the thing about the Kirk hammer, everyone says that the big hammer form is the good form. That's what everyone talks about. But the big hammer form sucks ass. I guess before I forget, I keep forgetting the uh, the charged R2 on the cleaver and the saw spear is at a certain like angle where a lot of times you can charge it from like the side of the enemy and still be able to target their back if you're unlocked, and so that's really nice for getting backstabs too. It's one of the things that makes it kind of unique to use. Anyways, Kirk hammer. The hammer form sucks ass. It's, I mean, obviously it's slow, but the bigger thing is it has really short range, and you don't even get like the full length of the hammer. It's like if you don't hit square on with the hammer, if you hit the edges, you get this shitty, weak hitbox that at least stuns the enemies, but it's a weak fucking dog shit hitbox. And then, honestly, the more useful, you don't want to press R1 with the Kirk hammer in the hammer form. You press L2 because it gives a little swipe. And that swipe's actually kind of nice because it's like most swipes in the game, if you're hitting with like the backswing on it, like that very last bit of the swing, typically it's going to do less damage or maybe even not have a hitbox at all. But Kirk hammer L2 basically has a hitbox throughout the entire thing, so you can hit a lot of things like right on the edge of the end of your swing. Still not great range, but it's good damage. The thing you use the Kirk hammer for is the fucking sword, though. The sword is way better because it has that similar quality to the threaded cane, where you have a really fast thrust attack and a very fast thrust attack, like charged attack. So as much as, and then like if you're just killing things, you don't need to charge R2. You use two R1s and take care of anything. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're using the. I mean, it's honestly still better than the hammer form because it has better range. Um, so like when I was doing the Kirk hammer, it was kind of sad because it just became this fucking sword build, and that's kind of what I want to put in C. Like the whole draw of the weapon is just not good. Um, Next up, um, here we'll do. I think I have an idea how I want to do this. So, saw spear, honestly, pretty bad. I don't know if I can justify. I might be able to justify putting in D. I'm thinking C, but it's really shitty. Of course, the like charged transformed R2 has really long range. The big problem with it is just the game. It's not only the weapon's fault; it's more the game. If you're locked onto something, because this thing, other than its like transformed R1 attacks, which are really weak and have shitty hitboxes, they're all just pokes. And the big problem with that is if you're locked on, um, like your character, it's gonna be in the right hand. You're gonna be locked on, and you're just gonna be poking past the fucking enemy. Like your lock on will not work for these fucking poke attacks like this. And it sucks ass because it's not the weapon's fault. It's just the game. You'll just miss constantly. Like if you think this is a good weapon, because I used to think it was a good weapon because I used it a decent amount when I first started playing, but I used it again recently. God, you just fucking miss so much with this thing. The best thing you can do is like unlock and then try to aim by yourself, but that's difficult with how narrow the hitboxes are, especially if you're using that charge R2. It's just not that good. And then not to mention, not to fucking mention, the whole point, it's so, oh my god, yeah, I'm keeping this in D for sure, because I just remembered. So the charged art, or the transformed version, its whole gimmick is you can press L2 to use the built-in gun, but all the built-in gun is a shittier blunderbuss. It never goes up in damage, has worse scaling than the blunderbuss, like you'll never use it for damage. So what are you using it for fucking parrying? Well, there's plenty of transformed weapons in this game that let you still use the gun. So that's not really that much of a draw. I could just use a different weapon and then have a fucking blunderbuss in my left hand and it would be better. And what's extra shitty is so because of this fucking dog shit attached gun that does nothing. First of all, it has a blood tinge requirement. It's not a high blood tinge requirement. It's like 9. You know, I have to put a level or two into blood tinge. Not a huge deal. The bigger problem is because it has that blood tinge requirement, and because it has the one fucking shitty attack with blood damage attached to it, you can't use fire papers or thunder papers or anything like that. So you're losing out on free damage for basically nothing. Because its regular attacks are not like blood elemental or anything like that. You just aren't allowed to use it, which is terrible because you get it right before the fucking Bloodstarved Beast, which is the number one boss to be putting your fire papers on. So if you decide to use it, you get this immediate bad taste in your mouth. You're switching from the saw spear or the hunter axe or something that's like carrying you, and then you get this shitty fucking weapon that you have to struggle against the Bloodstarved Beast with. It's just awful. Um, if it weren't for like I said, I mean, these are all just the game being retarded. It's not the fucking like weapon design itself. It's just these stupid mechanics that bring it way down. If it worked properly, it'd probably be at least like B tier, maybe A tier. But it just doesn't work. So D tier, not quite F. I mean, you can use it. There's some good attacks. It's just not good or it's not overall good and it's not fun. If it's R1 transformed attacks weren't so dog shit because they have dog shit range and dog shit damage. And the thing is, it makes no sense because you could just swing it around like a halberd. Like in its transformed form, it's kind of built like a halberd, but you don't use it like one. You swing it around like you're like trying to hold it upright. Like the fucking blade's gonna fall off of it if you lean over too much. It's stupid. Okay, next we have, let's do Stake Driver. Surprise, surprise, this is one of the weapons I have not really used. Mainly because it seems like complete dog shit. It has the one funny attack, which I'm sure if you get it, is fun, but the big problem is that's situational, and every other attack it has is stubby and like dog shit. And the thing that keeps me away from really trying it isn't that it seems bad, it's that it seems really boring. Because unless you're doing the big stupid attack, you're just doing these bullshit little punches. This is like as close to Bloodborne gets as having a bare hand weapon. Now that I think about it, it's just not very fun. I'll probably get to it eventually, but as for now, it's like F tier. I don't even like. I forget about it. I don't even consider it like a real weapon. Um, what's after this? That would be the Ludwig's sword. Um, it's like B tier. Of course, when you first play the game and you're using the charged R2s, you're thinking it's great. Um, the charged R2 in the transformed version is kind of slow. The L2 is like okay, it doesn't have enough range. It's not like a thrust attack or anything. It's just like okay, I don't use it all the time. The R1's pretty decent. Not the greatest range, but it's decent range and decent damage. Uncharged R2 is a good thrust attack. You know, all this stuff. It's if you backdash and then do an attack, it has this shitty little like he doesn't even swing the sword, he just pushes the sword at them and does no damage, has no range, dog shit. Um Overall, it's like okay. It has the same sword as the Kirkhammer, which is weird. It's the only weapon like that where it's completely different, aside from one of its forms. Um, mm, it's like I say, it's okay. It's there's something unsatisfying about using it though. I was trying to use it just recently, and it's just there's something you don't have that one attack that you're like yeah, you know, you don't even have that one attack. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's I guess that just means it's well balanced, huh? But there's like this Kane's pretty well balanced, but there's still like I'm usually happier to use whatever attack I'm using than with this. I guess with this one, it's like the use cases aren't as clearly defined. It just kind of feels like you're struggling a lot of the time. If it had a good sweeping attack, if like the L2 was a big sweep attack with better range, but it was slower than the R1, I think I would like it 10 times more. Because as it stands, it's not great for single enemies. It's not great for crowd control. Leaves you in an awkward spot. Plus, you have to get a ton of echoes if you want to buy it right when you first can, which of course you will, because it's like why wouldn't you if you're planning to use it? Um, so from here is where you kill Amelia, and and then all the DLC weapons unlock for you. Well, actually, no, we got the Tonitrus. I have not used the Tonitrus in quite some time, but I remember it being really okay. Bolt is a good element to have. If you're just using Tonitrus, I really wouldn't recommend that because there are like a couple of electric bosses that'll probably be a pain in the ass. But it's decent. I mean, it's one of the most middle of the road weapons there is. Um, I appreciate the way it gets buffed. We'll talk about the boom hammer later, but the way it gets buffed is a lot better than the boom hammer. It has a really limited moveset because it doesn't have a switch form. Pressing L2 or no L1 just buffs it, and you basically always want it to be buff. So it doesn't really. It's kind of boring, but it's okay. Um, it does scale better with arcane. Maybe you could do like an arcane strength build and have it be okay. I haven't tried it. I've heard the arcane scaling mainly comes into play when it's in its transformed mode, but you always want it to be in that mode anyway, so that's not that big a deal. It could fuck you over mid combat potentially, but it still has some arcane scaling without that buff activated. And like of course you can't use fire papers on it or anything, but that's understandable with the Tonitrus. I mean, it makes sense. Um, okay, so this is where you kill Amelia and you gain access to 30 weapons, but before we talk about those weapons, we'll talk about these weapons that technically you can get way earlier, like before Bloodstarved Beast. In the case of the Blades of Mercy, before even the first fucking boss, if you really want to grind for 40,000 souls at the beginning of the game. Usually, if I'm going to grab these early, I will do it during the Hendrik fight, kind of let him take out a lot of her health. Kind of tag team her instead of us tag teaming Hendrik. Because also they're just a lot more affordable at that point in the game. They're really not good. Let me think. I think C. They're definitely more fun than the saw spear or the rifle spear. They do have the transformed form R2 and L2, which are pretty decent and pretty strong. Bottom of C for sure. I mean, it's debatable. So the thing with them, they're kind of more for PvP is the idea. Because it's obviously a weapon for killing hunters. But there's very bad range, very quick, but very bad range. The L2 that kind of draws you away from the opponent while attacking is pretty unique. You need a ton of stamina for it. The untransformed version is just kind of weird. It's kind of a dagger weapon. I don't really see a case where you'd want the untransformed, but you wouldn't want the transformed. I guess I believe you do need that to get the charge attacks for backstabs, but that's like it. Um, the big thing that kind of sucks about them is it's another one of these weapons that has split damage for no reason at all. There are a couple weapons in this game that are given a little bit of arcane damage, like 5 arcane damage, literally, but they don't really have any arcane scaling. Um, you get nothing from the arcane. All it does is weaken you against enemies that are resistant to arcane, and you can't apply any buffs to it. So it's pretty much just straight downgrade. Um, for that, like, it's fun, but it's not good. And you have to like buy them for so many souls. And if you're getting them, the other yeah, this definitely deserves E tier because the other thing that sucks is if you want to get them early enough to actually use them in a non New Game Plus playthrough, you have to kill Eileen early, which means you're not getting the stamina rune, which is the only good rune for its slot, which really sucks. Always feel bad not getting that. Like there's so many times I think, well, I could do it, but then it's like, I mean, if you're not doing New Game Plus, it doesn't even really matter that much anyways, because you only have it for like the last fucking, not even last third of the game, maybe last quarter. Um, it's not like that. Like it's good. It's not insane though. But it just feels really bad. Also, Eileen's cool, and I don't like killing her early. Also, if you want to get it before, I don't know, does Henrik appear if you kill her in the first area? My brother's always telling me if you want to kill her in the first area, you have to do this complicated bullshit where you have her drop from the rafters, but you have to have her drop the maximum possible distance, otherwise she survives, and then you have a big problem. So yeah, they're just not good, but they are fun. I do like them. And then you got I'm gonna kill Logarius earlier. It's just a big dumb strength weapon for the most part. I've never used this one actually, really at all. It's one that, again, one of the few weapons I've used. Thing that sucks, like with all the arcane weapons in this game, like it's not split damage, but it's only getting the arcane bonuses when you're in that L2 transformed version. Which I don't. I know if you like, keep hitting the wheel, keep spinning that wheel, you gain more damage at the cost of draining health slowly. But I was fucking around with it because I hadn't fucked around with it for so long. I forgot that you can just turn it into the arcane form without spending any health. It'll just be in the arcane form and you can just use it. It's just if you want that extra damage, you have to keep spinning it, which might make it decent. Like it might actually be good for a strength arcane build. It's not going in D. It's hard to say because I haven't used it. The R1 seemed pretty slow. It's good if you can stun stuff, but the one thing that kind of what's the word I want to use pervades this game is if an enemy is small enough to be R1 stunned with like if an enemy is vaguely humanoid, typically you can just mash R1 and then they'll be stunned. And it's sort of a problem in this game. There aren't a whole ton of enemies that are weak to it in this game. It's a very big problem in Dark Souls 3. But in this game, it's not that huge a thing. But this typically, I guess it's decently balanced in this game for the most part. Like that extra stun will help you on those big enemies. The fact that I haven't used it though, would I say it's better than like Kirkhammer to Nitrous? Probably not better than Nitrous, honestly. But the Nitrous is, yeah. Nitrous isn't there because of its moveset. It's there because it's boring and it's just kind of like statistically a little bit weak. Um, you do lose out a lot less on if you decide to kill Alfred to get this early. I'm not sure how you would kill Alfred other than brute force and skill. I don't think there's any like drop in either of the two areas you encounter him in before the end of his quest line where you normally get this. Um, again, you have to buy the weapon after, which is like 20,000 souls, which really sucks at whatever part in the game you're getting it at. Even the time you're supposed to buy it, it sucks. Um, but it's like decent. I wouldn't say it's hard to say because I haven't used it, but it does seem to lack range. Uh, it's at least maybe this goes into C tier. Maybe this just goes into B tier. It's okay. Maybe that's what we do because it is like the thing about this is it's slow in every attack it has. I don't say it's C tier. Again, I haven't used it, so it's hard to say. But to Nitrous and B seems fair. Okay, so that's the end of the like weapons you can get early. Now it's into the weapons that you get in the early on into the DLC. Start with the Amygdalin arm. It is. I'm not gonna place its tier yet, but this makes a nice little pyramid if I do this. So we're gonna do that for a minute. Even if like it's decent. A couple problems. Split arcane damage, just like the Blades of Mercy, sucks. Most of its attacks are blunt, which sucks. Its transformed version is pretty good, decently fast with good range. Its charge R2 is really strong and can just decimate certain types of enemies. Because it does like this one big strike and then two smaller strikes, but they still do really good damage. So you can get all three strikes, you're doing a ton. It's good for some bosses if you get a good opportunity. The thing of it is, split damage arcane, no buffs, blunt damage. Trying to fight fucking what's her fucking name? Abriitis, whatever it is, in the Upper Cathedral Ward. It's fucking horrendous. Fucking horrendous because she's resisting both the arcane and the blunt. It sucks so much. For that, like, that alone takes it down a tier, but you can skip. I was just thinking about this recently, the last time I played the game, and was not having fun fighting Abriitis. I guess you do lose out on the Great Is Chalice, but if you're not doing New Game Plus, it really doesn't matter. And if you want to just save it until the very end of the game where you're leveled up more, because you're not doing those Great Is Chalices before at least like when you're about to beat the game. If not New Game Plus, they're way too hard. so it's not a big deal. Um, I say B tier. They're fine, fun, but not super great necessarily. We'll judge these a little after. Um, the fucking Beast Hunter whip, probably C tier. Its untransformed version's a little slow. It is all serrated, which is nice. Another strength weapon, that's fine. Um, it's just all a little slow. Untransformed is blunt damage. The big deal. A lot of weapons have like kind of slow R1s, like the Hunter Axe, where you really wish it was faster, but it's not that big a deal because you have other, like your R1s transformed aren't too slow. The thing with this is it's your transformed attacks are all really slow. Um, other than like your post roll like follow up attack, which is actually another short ranged unwhip like attack, which is actually pretty useful. That and like the running attack with the R2 or with the transformed version, I believe is also a. I'm moving my mic. Hold up. I believe. Oh, fuck. Okay. I believe it is also a like short range quick attack, but honestly, those two come in pretty handy pretty often. It's just the transformed version. The big draw is like the range, but the R1's range is very good, yes, but it doesn't do a ton of damage. Doesn't do a ton of stun. It does decent stun, but it's just like there's not a whole lot of situations where you really want that. And the R2 is a very narrow but very long hitbox. You will. It doesn't have the saw spear problem or the rifle spear problem. You will hit with it. It's just like you don't typically need that much range. Like a lot of times in the game, you kind of want enemies to attack you so you can walk out or roll out of their range so that they're preoccupied with their attack so you can just wail on them. So you don't really need that much range a lot of the time. It's not going to stun some of the bigger enemies. I think the biggest thing that it can stun is like the werewolves, which is nice, but it's balanced is the problem. So there's not, well, it's sort of balanced. Like there's just not a lot of great situations where you're really happy to have it. There's a lot of situations where you're really unhappy to have it. If its untransformed version was a good deal faster, um, and not blunt damage, then that would be swell. But we don't live in that world. So C tier, it's all right. Beast Hunter Scythe. A lot of people really love Beast Hunter Scythe. I used to really love Beast Hunter Scythe. It is unique for sure. I'm crawling around on the floor, by the way. If you're wondering why my audio, I keep getting further and closer to the mic, so I'm crawling around on the floor while I do this. Um, Beast Hunter Scythe, I would say like B tier. Thing of it is, it does have really a lot of really good traits. Um, it's R1 like dash you towards the enemy, and then you can just keep spamming R1 to kind of stay in the same place but unload a ton of attacks. And it's really fast and does a lot of damage. And that's good and all when you need to close distance, but there's no turning it off. It's not like a dash attack or anything. It just always happens. And a lot of times that will cause you to dash past the enemy and just miss them. It's very frustrating. When you want it, it's great, but when you don't, it sucks. And the very funny thing, the Beast Hunter Scythe um, is like the exact opposite problem from the rifle spear. Most of the things that are good about it are just arbitrary bullshit. Just game mechanics that don't make any sense. Like that dash forward, logically makes no sense. No sense why it does it. No sense why it can't turn it off. But it's good. Um, and then it's the short forms like R2, uncharged R2 is this big poke. It's a really strong, really long range poke. And if you pay attention to the attack animations, it has so much range that it really shouldn't have. Because if you pay attention to the attack animation, after he gets done with a stab, his arm has to like just his hand has to just slide down the handle so he's not holding it at the tip of the handle anymore. Like it's total bullshit. Like he like shifts his grip to the like oh it's like fucking it's like he jabs forward like It's hard to explain, but he should not be able to jab forward with it as much as he does. But again, it makes it more interesting. It's charged R2 in the short form. Big dumb attack. Not a whole lot of use cases for it. The sight, like a, I don't know what you'd call it. I was gonna call it the scythe form, but I don't actually know if scythe's a real word. I've never heard it anywhere else. The long form is like kind of weird. It's good. The charged R2 is one of the most satisfying attacks in the game. Ton of range, pretty fast for what it is. Um, Crushes a ton of shit. It'll just knock them on the floor, interrupting them completely. Very, very satisfying. Um, it's another one of those weapons where both forms of the weapon have a good use case. And you're kind of happy with either of them. Um, Charge R2 is pretty good, decent range. Regular R2 is like your best crowd control option. Decent, like little sweep, decent damage. Um, kind of like not quite as much range as you would want, but it's the best he got. The R1 is weird. It does like this. He almost like swipes it in an arc, but he doesn't quite. So it's this really weird range. Not. It's kind of short range. You'd kind of think it would be longer, but it's not. Like it's long. It's like on the right half of the swing, um, or whatever half you're coming from. That doesn't make any sense. Don't worry about it. Like on that first half of the swing, you have good range, but then it just like he curves upwards, and then you lose range on that second half of the swing. I don't think I'm describing this well, but the point is, its range is weird and shitty, and it doesn't do great damage. So um, it can be a little bit unsatisfying to use, but that's fine. It's a good balance weapon. And it is faster, so there are a lot of occasions where you'd prefer to use that than like the R2. Now that I'm talking about it more, it really seems like the main thing I hate is just missing with that R1 in close proximity. I'll, I'll go ahead because I know it's good. I know I used to love it. Um, it can be a little frustrating, but if you play around it, it's good. It's A tier. Um, Boomhammer, I've only used it a little bit. I didn't finish the playthrough with it. I've used it. It's okay. You know, you can always do like a Tonitrus Boomhammer build. The thing about it is you just get the fire boost for one attack, which is just kind of shitty because obviously you don't want to be swinging around without the fire. Like that's stupid. At that point, you just have a shitty weapon. And then with the fire, the only thing that's really that cool about it is the like R2 with the big explosion, which I'm sure is good. You know, I don't know. I'm saying I'm sure it's good. It's good. It's not that good though. It's a fine weapon, C tier. It's just kind of frustrating to use. Again, you're locked to one element, which is good and bad. You're past the point in the game where fire would be as good as it could be. Although I guess for New Game Plus, it's nice. C tier, next weapon. Let's see. Um, let's talk about Simon's Bowblade. So I didn't know this until recently. You can actually just get Simon's Bowblade by killing Simon. I don't know how hard that is. You could do it before killing the first boss of the area. I'm sure there's some way to cheese it. Although I don't think enemies will target him, and there's not a whole lot of drops in that area. I wonder if you could like, where would you have to lure him to get him killed with a drop? Maybe you could. Oh, it would be way too hard, but maybe you could lure him to that one big guy that fights the two guys at the door to the fire beast. Maybe he could fight them, but I would assume that's outside of his aggro range. But you could get it early. When I used it, I did not get it early. Um, I got it when he dies naturally. Let's sit back up. 1 second. Um, the thing about it, it's untransformed version is fine, decent range, kind of fast enough, never not super notable. Then you have the bow form, and it really sucks because if it were anything other than a fucking blood tinge weapon, it would be great. That bow is pretty useful, good range. Use quicksilver bullets, obviously. Whatever. A good range, strong. The thing of it is, if you're doing a blood tinge build, you already have a fucking gun, so there's no point to the arrow. There were some situations where it was better to, if an enemy hadn't noticed you yet, charge up an R2, get more damage than you would with the Evelyn. And it can have, I think its range. I know if you charge it, it gets more range, but I still think its range is. It might be a little better than the Evelyn's. I want to say it's worse though. I want to say it's a little worse than the Evelyn's because the Evelyn shoots pretty far. But that's the thing of it is, if it were like a skill weapon that had a projectile that used bullets, that would be so fucking awesome. But it's just a shitty gun. So for that, like, I almost want to give it D tier just because I'm pissed off. And again, you can't use fire paper on it. As we've went over. At least its attack isn't completely fucking worthless, but it might as well be. Honestly, it's just not that fucking interesting. And this L2 is just this shitty little swipe with the arrow when it's transformed. Which I get the idea. It's like, oh, you're out of bullets, so you want to have some attack on it, or you want to have some close range attack if you're getting swarmed. But you would just transform if that was happening. You wouldn't sit there swiping at them with a shitty arrow with no range and no damage. So it potentially could have had another cool attack, but instead you get fucked. So yeah, D tier, like it's a decent weapon, but there's almost no real reason to use it. You might as well just use anything else and then have a gun. Um, what else? What else is in that area? So of course the Whirly saw S plus tier, maybe an S plus plus. Best weapon in the game, easy. Has very good strength scaling even early on. But then as you get into it, it gets. I think it's the. It might not be the only weapon with an S in strength scaling, but it it might be. I'm not sure. But S in strength scaling, decent skill scaling too. It ends up with like a C or a B, which is just crazy for something that already has S in strength. One of the better arcane scaling weapons for some fucking reason. Um, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would use strength for it. But a couple there's a lot of it. Like the big problem with it is that everything about it is really good. Um, the and you mostly care about the transformed version. This is another weapon where you don't really care about the untransformed. It's the only way you can get backstabs. Is with the untransformed R2. That's basically the only reason to use it. It's a decent little swipe, kind of slow, but you don't really care about that. You care about the transformed. R1, um, decently fast for how much damage it does. Great range. Honestly, deceptively great range. You can just like nick them with the very edge of the hitbox, and it'll do full damage. Stuns basically everything, and that's the big thing is you can basically just R1 spam like half the enemies to death. It's pretty cheap. It's honestly like the easy mode, in my opinion. The R2 is just like a slower R1. Sometimes you need the extra damage and it swings a little wider. Sometimes you need that for like crowd control. The charged R2 isn't great. It's situational. It does big damage, but it knocks things down. So you can't get the backstabs, but it only knocks them down after first doing a good couple of hits they do damage, but they don't do any stun. So sometimes you'll get just those hits, and then you'll get interrupted, knock the big damage, even though you already swung down on the fucking ground with it. It's a weird thing. Um, but it's situationally useful if you can get it off. Sometimes an enemy will be crawling towards you, and you'll time your attack just right, and you'll get big damage. Situational, but not great. Um, it's a post roll attack. Is this little like kind of thrust? It doesn't do thrust damage, but it's sort of a thrust in. That's decent for after you roll. Sometimes you just need that extra little bit of range after you roll to kill or to hit. It has tons of what's it called? Of rally regain. So like maybe the best in the game, at least some of the best, which is really nice. It I don't think it does blunt damage in its transformed. Um, mode. I believe that's just standard damage, even though it has such big regain. Um, I don't believe it does. If it does blunt damage, then its numbers are even more insane than I thought. Because it's just eating through shit that resists blunt. Um, and then of course, you have like that post roll attack, but also the post backstep attack has like it does that like saw the scythe thing where it like drags you towards the enemy. It's so good. So often you will get just what you need from dodging, like backstepping, and then you'll just cover all that fucking distance to get right back in. It's really good. Um, its dashing R2 is really good. It's pretty fast for how much damage it does. Of course, it's like you're using after a dash, so you're just coming in, swinging your fucking hammer up. It'll kill a ton of shit really easily. Hitboxes are a little wonky. You have to aim it a little bit, but it's pretty good. You're not using it all the time, but it is pretty good. Of course, you have the L2. Because the fire paper and bolt paper are fixed damage, like they add just a fixed amount of damage to your swing. The L2 that just does a billion hits in a row is super buffed by it. Um, that's what people talk up the L2, and the L2 is good, but it's not the real reason you're using it because it doesn't stun things very well. Even like the humanoid enemies, it's not great for not a ton of range, kind of slow. But if you can just back someone into a corner, you can just fucking saw through them like like a horror movie. S tier easily best weapon in the game. Um, I guess along with it, we'll talk about the Beast Hunter Claw. It's kind of weird. This is kind of like these are the two weapons that I always use together. That's a real strange one. It's probably one of the most strange weapons in the game. Um, you get it pretty deep into the Chalice dungeons. It's the only weapon that is unique to Chalice dungeons. I don't know why. Kind of sucks. Makes you go through the shitty Chalice dungeons just to get the one thing you actually care about. It's basically just kind of like a saw cleaver, very fast, short range though. Um, I mean, it's good for just mashing through shit. It's transformed. It's like you get two claws and you can mash through shit again, which can be good. Thing of it is, it's like which one is it? You do the scream with the L2, right? Let me think. Yeah, you scream, but I believe it just stuns enemies. I don't let me think. Well, no, you get the Beast Hood regardless. So I think so that scream, spoiler alert, in the Rune version at least, is supposed to help you build up uh, the Beast Hood, which I didn't know until recently, so I can't really tell you the how great the scream is, but you don't even need it. Um, the unique thing about it, this is the other unique thing about it. It's the only thing in the game besides Beast Blood pellets that will grant the Beast Hood boost, which is great on a really fast weapon like this. Um, so you can potentially just mow through shit. It, I would say like A tier, but of course, well, hmm, I believe even in yeah, even in the normal form, if you charge up your R2, you get this big beast hand that comes down. It's pretty fun, kind of, it's your slow attack kind of situational. That's good. Um, at least I think that's it, isn't it? That might be the transform version. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a minute since I've used it. Now I think about it. Of course, you get the rune version, which is just like better. It's a little slower, but it has better range, better damage. Um, you get a cool dive attack that can take some enemies by surprise. Um, it just gets better range. You still get the beast hood inherently with it. Um, it adds this like constant, almost like pot simmering sound effect, which could be annoying, but I tend to think it's pretty cool. Um, Really, it's just a. And the thing about the Beast Rune version is you can kind of just R1 mash through crowds, which you typically can't do. It has that good mix of good speed, but also just good range because your limbs are so stretchy at that point. Um, I mean, I wouldn't say it's anything crazy, but it's pretty unique, pretty fun. It's pretty good. It's A tier. It sucks that you gotta go through the chalice dungeons, but if you're there anyways, I mean, you're not gonna be there anyways. But what if you were? Got another pyramid farming. That's satisfying. I have to find some excuses to push it in B tier. Um, Next up, so we're out of the weapons that you get early in the DLC. So let's go with the two weapons that are like the next easiest to get, which is the castle weapons. We'll start with the Shikage, the like only real blood tinge weapon besides guns. Only in one form though, otherwise it's just a skill katana. It's pretty decent. The katana itself is okay. I'm gonna say, A tier. It's pretty decent. The katana itself is okay. Obviously, the big draw is the transform version. It's constantly draining your health. Um, has really good range and pretty good stun in that form. Good damage. Um, the L2, don't forget your fucking L2 in that form is like a swipe sideways. You really need that with this weapon because otherwise you're kind of fucked on crowd control. Um, the thing that sucks about it is it's charged R2. It drains so much health just even trying to use it, and it's not like health that you regain or anything after hitting. You just lose the health. So I don't tend to use its charged R2. It just doesn't seem worth it. But its transform version is still good. Other than that, it's the only real blood tinge weapon in the game. Um, which means you unfortunately cannot have a fiery katana. But it's pretty good. If it weren't for being a blood tinge weapon, probably being like B tier, but it's unique enough that you will grow some fondness for it if you're trying to do some more unique builds. It's just like a decent weapon. It's like A tier. Then you have the Reiter Palisks. I don't know how to pronounce it. Fake weapon, not even real. Dog shit. It almost feels like, so technically in the game, there's data for like a little dagger weapon, but really it's just the move set for when you're fighting uh, Sister Adele with her beautiful songs. Anyways, when you basically it's just there to give her Adele her shitty little move set. Um, and the Rider Polish almost feels like one of those weapons. Um, it's like in that I don't. This is like a joke weapon, but like it's a fun little joke you can do. This I don't. This feels like cut content or something. Like they didn't finish it. It just has these shitty little pokes. Okay, they're thrust damage, but they're very short range, no damage, just thrust. Um, its charge attack isn't really any better. No like real sweeps of any sort. You get like this shitty little sweep in its transform version. Not worth using. It's not even that fast. It's really bad. Blood tinge requirement, which sucks because not even really a fucking blood tinge weapon. And again, no fire or electricity. Just add insult to injury. But what do you get in exchange for that? Well, you get to have a gun. Just like the rifle spear, you get to have a fucking thing that you could have had anyways. The big difference with the rifle spear, first of all, it's more of a hunter pistol instead of a blunderbuss. Um, but also, you have your free hand open anyways, so you can just use your normal gun. There's really no benefit to using the gun on the sword. You look it up and be like, well, you could fire with both hands, like you would ever need to fire with both hands. It's so unbelievably dog shit. If I wanted to have a fucking shitty, miserable run of Bloodborne, I would use this fucking weapon. It's so fucking terrible. I like I if I ever got to interview Hideki Miyamoto, whatever his fucking name is, I would ask him what the fuck was happening with the Rider Palace. Um, F tier easily. What's next? And then you got the shitty DLC weapons, and basically I would consider everything in this area to be a post game weapon. You can beat the first boss in the DLC early if you're really wanting to bang your head against a wall and get the Holy Moonlight Sword earlier. Holy Moonlight Sword, it's alright. It's pretty good. Its sword form's pretty good. Its magic sword form, pretty good. It has a nice little burst attack with the L2 that can be good for groups of enemies, but it costs bullets. You have a good the thing is, you have like this nice little ranged nice little like sword beam attack like in Zelda, but it's taking your bullets anyways. And if you're using this thing, you want to keep your bullets for your like your Black Sky Eye and your fucking what's it called, the little fucking tentacle thing. Like you already have shit you want to spend your bullets on. And especially if you have the Black Sky Eye, you already have just like a basic projectile, so you really have no reason. The only benefit is like they come out with your sword swing, so you can like hit them with both the sword swing and the beam at the same time. But at that point, you're getting no use out of the range. It's like it's a fun arcane weapon. I'll begrudgingly put it in A tier because it's definitely like sticks out above the crowd, but it's not. Oh, it's just missing a little sauce. Of course, you're not getting the arcane damage unless you're in the switch form, which my brother always likes to complain about this. When it's valid. I have less of a problem with it because I just don't. I just use these games in New Game Plus where you can just have your stats at the hard cap, anyways. Um, but only transformed version gets arcane, and the untransformed version well, the arcane version rather. I think it does still get some strength and skill. I don't think it's pure arcane, but it fucking sucks. You're trying to do an arcane build, you can have half the weapon, asshole. Same with like the Tonitrus and the Boomhammer. Just fucking sucks. At least it's an actual arcane weapon. I'm not mad that I can't put fire on it because it's a real arcane weapon. Um, in my opinion, looks really cool with the Beast Rune. Have that big glowing sword. And you also kind of are mirroring Ludwig at that point, but that's neither here nor there. And then you got honestly, let's talk about this one first because while it is technically supposed to be a post game weapon, you have to kill Gearman, whatever. You have to kill him. Um, but then once if you are doing the secret ending, you can just bold Hunter's Mark out after killing him to not fight the big alien, and then you're gonna go do the DLC with this weapon. So it's sort of in the same group as all these weapons. If anything, you can get it earlier. Um, it's not that good. Its transformed version. So the big thing about it, it's another fucking. You know what? Let's throw it in D for now. You might be in D. It's another fucking rifle spear situation where it sucks because the game just limits you arbitrarily. Um, it has an overhead swing attack, which is like the only attack in the whole game where you're ever gonna clink with the walls consistently, especially in like chalice dungeons. You will consistently hit your fucking head or hit it over your head and not be able to attack with it for no fucking reason. It's just a drawback. There's no benefit. Um, it's really annoying. It's charged R2 in the transform version. Does technically have some of the best range in the game, but it's kind of slow. It's just not like uh, with how slow it is, the range because it's not like forward range. It's like a sweep with decent forward range. Which, if you're in crowd control, it's probably harder for you to just sit there, and not be attacking at all. I mean, you can do it with the axe sometimes. I mean, it's not terrible. It's just not a lifesaver. It's not gonna save you from the low tiers. Um, its R1s are these overhead strikes that are fine. Its normal uncharged R2 is this like shitty little. It's the dumbest thing in the world if you look at the animation. He like swings it around his back almost, so that he can just hit with like the head of it, so that it has no range. Purely so they can give it no range. He does this stupid weird swing instead of just having you swing outwards, which would make way more sense, be way more satisfying, and make the weapon good. Um, its untransformed version is just like so boring. It's like kind of indistinguishable from Simon's Bowblade. a little bit slow, decent range. Who fucking cares? Um, the thing about it being like this really late game, post game type weapon is there's really nothing to justify it. It's just a skill weapon that you don't get to use earlier, which you hate because skill, everything, like I say, everything that isn't strength gets kind of fucked. Um, like you'll notice only blood tinge weapon right here, and then sort of an arcane weapon, sort of an arcane weapon, sort of an arcane weapon, sort of an arcane weapon. This one's maybe more of an arcane weapon, but only it's still only sort of. So arcane gets fucked maybe even harder than the blood tinge does. Blood tinge at least gets guns. Anyway, um, it's just not that special for the weapon that you only get for beating Gearman that you are supposed to just use in New Game Plus. Not that special, not that great. It's a better than D tier. I mean, C tier. It's just not super good. I kind of think this should be in C tier. Honestly, it's a little slow. I think this in C and this in B. Top of C tier, but like, there's a lot of stuff that's like debate. Like the difference between B and C tier is thinner than the difference between like A and S tier. It's all debatable. Bloodletter, one of the few weapons I've never used. Actually, we're kind of coming up on just a bunch of weapons I've never used. So Bloodletter, you get way too late. It's the only strength blood tinge weapon. I've been saying this is the only blood tinge weapon, the only skill blood tinge weapon, the only blood tinge weapon you're going to be using in a new game instead of a new game plus. You get this way too late after too many bosses. It doesn't seem that good. It's another fucking thing that deals damage to you when you're trying to use it. Really, just the fact that it comes so late. And the thing about like any of these other weapons, sure you get them late. You can get some of these late, but I mean you can just use it if you really want to. This one, you're gonna have to be doing a strength build and just like leveling up your blood tinge with no benefit up until like the very end of the game, where all of a sudden, I hope you've been leveling blood tinge enough. Fucking take off your whirly gig that you've been using to carry you the entire game. Put on this shittier weapon, just because you've decided you're gonna do that to yourself. I almost want to put in an F just because out of spite, but I don't think it's that bad. I haven't really used it. It's probably C tier. It pisses me off though. I want to put you in F. Just know that. My least favorite out of any of these weapons here, except for the Riter Palace. Church pick, kind of a again, and this is one I'm kind of surprised that some use. You just get it so late, and it's not special enough that I'm like, oh yeah, let's use that New Game Plus. Um, I mean, it's got a. Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, its moveset, again, I haven't used it a ton. Nothing that much to write home about. It just seems like a solid weapon. I kind of hate that it's so far in the DLC. It just seems like a solid, like, I think it's a. I don't know, it's a skill. I think it's kind of like the Saw Spear. It's kind of a strength skill. I'll put it in C tier just because you get it so late. It is serrated on its transform version. It's just like it. I haven't used it, and it seems a little boring. The Rikuyo is a weapon that I really want to use. I keep wanting to use it. I keep thinking, what weapon will I use this game? Oh, Rikuyo. What will I use to get there? Well, it's at the very end of the fucking DLC, so it's a New Game Plus weapon. What are you using until then? Because this is pure skill. What are you using until then? Fucking, I guess the fucking, Saw Spear, or like the Safe. It's just like nothing that feels similar to it. I thought about doing a Blades of Mercy playthrough, but like Blades of Mercy and then go into Verkuyo. But if you're doing that, you're gonna be doing New Game Plus, which means you really want that fucking stamina rune, the Hunter rune. Um, it's really cool. It seems like it has good range, along with being decently fast. Um, a lot of thrust attacks, which is nice. It's like the only pure skill weapon in the game. It gets S tier in skill scaling. I feel like it would be going in S if I could use it. But for now, I really like it. I haven't used it, but it's an A, so I really like it. And then last we got the Caustic Parasite, a weapon I actually have used. Um, so only pure arcane weapon, and it's at the literal very end of the DLC. You have to kill the last boss for it, which pisses my brother off to no end. He went through trying to do an arcane build, and he's read up, oh, what's some weapons I could use for arcane? Oh, here's the Cost Parasite. Oh, I like being an alien. Of course, he didn't know that the DLC at that is kind of balanced for post game or near post game. So he's just sitting there trying to kill costs on like fucking, he's leveled up throughout the DLC, but he hadn't even gone through like Secret Woods, I think. So that's where he quit the game. He just got stuck on cost for so long. It's it's almost pretty good. The thing about it is, you don't get a. It's not like the Beast Claw where it has a different move set when you don't have the rune. You basically just have no move set. It's just like a barehanded weapon at that point, which you'd think might be fun if not good. But maybe it could at least be fun, but it just does no damage either. Although it does have good, like decent arcane scaling in that form. It's not completely unfeasible, but it's not good. Or even like it's kind of that Vitropolis area where it's just like, this isn't a real weapon. But with the rune, you get these like shitty, slow tentacle attacks. They look very cool, but they're not good. Um, your transformed R2 is probably your best bet. It has decent range. Can stun a lot of things from kind of far away. It's a decent mix of range and speed. Um, then it's R2. You cannot charge its R2. It just does this like good ranged like tentacle explosion type thing. It's decent. The whole weapon's kind of decent. The thing of it is, untransformed, you just get like a shittier tentacle that's less cool. It has the unfortunate drawback of, like I've been saying with Whirligig and everything like that, where the untransformed, at least you can charge the R2 to get backstabs, and you can do that with Caustic Parasite, but it has this weird hitbox. It's kind of slow. Mainly the hitbox being weird is the problem. It's just not even that great for that. Um, it does have if you're transformed, if you backdash and then attack, it has a little vomit attack that has like poison build up. I don't know if you're ever gonna actually get that to build all the way up, but it's funny. A lot of funny stuff with it. Well, before we get to that, the L2 on the transformed is kind of good. It uses, I forget how many bullets. It's a decent amount of bullets to do this big kamikaze explosion attack. Pretty early on into the attack, you get a ton of super armor, which can have you survive a ton in a group, then just like explode the whole group in one big burst. It's really fun. When it works, it feels awesome. But a lot of times you're running in there trying to rely on the super armor and then just getting killed because you're getting mobbed by 80 enemies while you're charging up the explosion. But it is very fun. Can be genuinely effective. I like it a lot. But it's not like it's not broken or anything. It's just really fun. Other than that, though, the biggest problem, I forgot to mention this with the Beast Claw. With the Beast Claw, when you're with the rune with it, your dashes actually get faster, um, which is really good, but I wouldn't say it makes as much of a difference as your dashes being slower, um, as happens with the Parasite. And the big problem with that, there's a couple big problems. One, if you're playing the game enough to be using the Cost Parasite, you probably have some decent muscle memory, and your rolls being slower is just gonna fuck you up all the time. But even worse than that, even worse than muscle memory being worse, and just the slow rolls just worse. Um, Even worse than that. So the big thing with the arcane tool, the what is it called? Augur of Ebrietas, which sends out those tentacles. Big thing about it is it does good damage, but it can also parry. Um, so you get that big damage, and then you get the parry damage too. So that's like double the big damage. The big problem with that, though, is the attack animation is really slow. When the game first released with it, um, it couldn't parry. That was something they added in a patch, and you can really tell because it's very slow. It's really hard after you get the parry, even if you don't get hit or anything. It's really hard to go and follow up on that parry. You have to basically roll immediately in, and then do the R1 to get the big damage. But you have like a couple frames of leniency. I mean, you can just hold up on the control stick and mash, so it's not that big a deal. But you have to be really quick with it. And if you slow down the fucking roll, then you can no longer get the riposte with the parry very easily out off of the Augur of Ibriitis. If you're doing an arcane build, you've been using that. That's like one of your main tools for a really long time. It's like your only good arcane tool until you get Black Sky Eye. Um, Even then, like it still stays good. Like it's a good tool. One of the biggest reasons to use arcane at all. Um, but you get this new shiny weapon that you only get after doing the entire DLC. It's pure arcane. You've probably been eyeing it for a while because it's pure arcane in a game where you're not going to do an arcane build, and it's basically a new game plus weapon only. Um, but you go through it, trying to play a new game plus with it. You're getting fucked up because your rolls are slower, and then even if you successfully hit with the Augur of Ibriitis, you're not like 9 times out of 10 you're not getting the riposte after, which just sucks ass. It neuters one of the main tools you've been using the entire game for a shittier, like, it's not a complete dog shit weapon. It's just not that good. And the fact that it actively neuters both your rolls and a different weapon that you've been relying on the whole game. Basically, your fucking butter comes in and fucks up your bread. You know what I'm saying? You're fucking like, this is that butter on top, and now your bread's all fucked up, which is your defensive options and your one good tool. So I still like it because it's very cool. The L2, the big kamikaze explosion really does a lot for me. Um, can I justify putting in an A tier? Like, it's pretty. It's just those, again. It's just like the game mechanics that fuck it up. It doesn't have to be like that. If it weren't for that, it'd be pretty fucking good. Because that range is honestly really nice. If you're in that transform version with the range, you stun a lot more things than you would think. Um, it does good damage. And again, it's the only pure arcane weapon. I guess it's better than these. I guess it goes in A, but it's like bottom of A. Is there anything I would reorganize? Uh, the C tier being so heavily packed is pretty reasonable to me. F and D tier being how they are. I mean, D tier is basically just weapons that get fucked for reasons that aren't their own fault. But the thing is, you can use a New Game Plus, and there'll be a reason for it. Unlike these weapons, where it's just like, it doesn't matter if you're New Game Plus or not. This probably goes in B. If this is in B, that's in B. If Tenacious is in B, that's in B. Boomhammer, begrudgingly. I always think of it as like a C tier weapon. The thing is, its moveset is also kind of, even aside from not having the constant fire buff, the thing is, because your transformed attack is just the fire buff, you just have these shitty little swings. And because you only get the one attack, it's not like you get a string of R1s or anything. You just get the one little sweep R1. So yeah, I'm definitely giving that a C. A tier being pretty stacked makes sense. S and S plus pretty much worked out exactly how I thought it would. These are really only an S. The Hunter Axe might be an S regardless. I saw one of the either Saw Cleaver or Saw Spear should be an S, one way or the other. I'm tempted to put Threaded Cane in S. The thing is, it just doesn't help you with the early game really at all. So it's kind of the worst starting weapon in that sense. I don't think I can really justify putting in an S. The thing is, it is really fast with that charged R2. Because these are getting a big boost from being early. this doesn't get that same boost, you're kind of hating your life using it in fucking Yarnum. Which, yeah, I mean, just the fact that it sucks for the whole first area you start with. It doesn't suck, but it's not as good as your other options. When it's your starting weapon, like you should, like you don't want to hamper yourself at the most vulnerable point in the game. So I can't put it in S, but it is A tier, very good. It's a rare case where if you got it later, I might bump it up higher. Because at least, like, I mean, I guess you could just switch to it after the first area, but why the fuck would you do that? So weird. This is like bottom of B tier. I feel like the B tier, like I hate all the weapons in B tier. Like, you know, obviously I don't hate them, but they make me mad because they just shouldn't be that bad. But I think there's a reason. I think this at least goes in B tier. I haven't used it, but it's a Church Fix moveset seems pretty solid. I'd put it in B tier. It might even end up in A tier if I ever use it, but B tier at least. Everything else I feel like is pretty fair. I feel like this is a pretty fair final tier list. So, I think that was like at least an hour and a half of me talking about the Bloodborne weapons. So, I mean, obviously these are thoughts that have built up over many playthroughs over really 10 years actually, because I started playing in like 2016. I want to say. So, it's been a long time. And with that, thanks for watching. I'll probably do I'll probably do the guns and the hunter tools in like one tier list because there's not as much to say. We'll see if I ever get around to that though. But anyway, this video is long enough. See you later.